Let's talk about what is AdonisJs. Adonis is a Node.js framework. It has also provided some configuration, database ORM. You can create RESTful APIs very easily. It is similar to Laravel.js. It's a model view controller framework. You can create views, controllers in the routing. It has also integrated the authentication and you can upload the file storage. You can connect with Postgres, MySQL. All these features are available in AdonisJs. We're gonna build API with AdonisJS. First of all, you have to install Adonis CLI. I already installed AdonisJS. I'm gonna create a new project with Adonis new, and we have to create the blogging type application. So I'm gonna do it blog API. So the project has created. Let me open the project, and I would like to show you the directory structure of this project. I'm gonna open to my VS Code editor. We have app, middleware. You can place all the middleware here. It has also created the views. Let's try to run the project. Adonis serve dash dash dev. So the project is running on localhost colon tetra 3. Let's try to check it. Here we have hello Adonis. But I don't want to create the views in AdonisJS. I'm only interested in API part. So you can use this flag dash dash API only. So we're gonna create a new project. If you want, you can delete that. cd rm blog API. Adonis. So get rid of this blog API. Let's create a new project, Adonis new. I'm gonna provide the name blog API. This time I'm only interested in API version. I don't want to create the views with Adonis. I'm gonna move to this blog API directory. Let's try to run the project. Let me open it into my code editor. We have app, config. Now you can see that we don't have views directory. Let's try to run the project. I would like to show you the output. cool. Our API project is running. Now you can see that hello world in JSON. I'll talk more about the directory structure. It has defined the routes. Where did they configure the routes? In the starts, here we have the routes. They have created only one route. You can update that. Welcome to AdonisJs. When I will save the application, it will automatically reload the application. Welcome to AdonisJs. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that. I'm gonna run the application from here. Now you can see that welcome to AdonisJs. If you are interested in another route, you can create the route here. You can play around with route. It is going to return the array. Let's say that id1 name, which is learn node, whatever you want to say. Now you can go to the /post route /post. Yep. If you will provide the invalid route, you will get the not found error. Now I can get the error. I can get the error in the response. I installed JSON view. You can install that plugin if you want to see the JSON in more readable format. Let's talk about the directory structure. First of all, the application will be started from the app.js. Now we have the server.js file. Server.js file. It will bootstrap the Adonis server. Under the hood, they are using the igniter. App.root. It is going to fire the HTTP server. If you want to see the API doc for igniter, you can do that. Here we have the igniter file. They have HTTP controllers, model hooks. So you can define model hooks, middlewares, all this stuff is available on the igniter. You can register the providers. I'll talk more about the providers, all this stuff. If you have the HTTP server, under the hood, this file is starting the HTTP server. I'm going to open the server.js file, fire HTTP. You can also check this method. It is going to set the root directory. They are using the app root. Set the application root object, application app root. I'm trying to check the fire HTTP server. Here we have the fire HTTP server. I provided the callback here. I think I did not provide the callback. It's up to you. It is going to start the HTTP server. They are calling this HTTP server. So this line of code is starting the HTTP server. You can also check from the documentation when I'm going to do getting started guide. Where is that installation? Here we have concepts in the igniter. Yep. Powers the bootstrapping of Adonis application. It provides the hooks. You can set the configuration for the hooks in the igniter file. Basically, they are already doing that. You can customize your hooks. All this method is available in this igniter file, index.js file. You can also set the preload files that we have. You can also preload the files after the HTTP server has started. We use this method app_root define the absolute path to application root. That's all we need to know about the igniter. So server.js will start the HTTP server. So this is how the application has started from the server.js file, and then you will see you can set the configuration in the app.js file. Providers. These are the building blocks for your Adonis app. Anytime you install a new Adonis specific package, chances are you will have to register the provider area. It's like a dependency AdonisJs. Let's say you have Lucid ORM. Let's say Adonis provide Lucid ORM. Here we have the Lucid ORM. So you will use this ORM to connect with database. So this is the dependency in AdonisJs. So you must need to register the provider here. Here we have the Lucid provider, course provider. These are all the dependencies in AdonisJs. Let's say I want to use, let's create the docs.ts file, docs.md. Let's say I want to use body parser dependency or package. First step, I will install this package. It could be, let's say, Adonis at body parser, something like that. Install it, and then I will register into the provider. We'll talk more about the provider in the later modules. So now you got the point. Whenever you will have a dependency specific to Adonis, let's say, they also create the package for authentication, auth provider. That's why you need to register the auth provider. Body parser, course, and app provider. It is just returning these providers, providers, aliases, and commands. You can also register commands here. I'm not going to talk about commands here. Kernel.js. Yep, here you will register your global middleware. A middleware will run before the request and after the request has executed. Here we have the middleware. What is middleware? What is middleware? A middleware runs before the request executed, before the request execute, before and after the request, you can say that. Let me draw the diagram here. So let's say a user has sent the request. Here is the middleware. It could be body parser. It is a user request. And here is the response. Middleware runs before the request, after the request has executed, and before the response will come. Let's say I would like to parse this body. Let's say that this is the body is, let's say I created this body, stuff like that. Let's say that. So you can say that we must have JSON body parser. You will add this data inside the request, and then this middleware will parse the body in the JSON and send the response. So that is the purpose of the middleware. You can learn more about the middleware from the Express documentation. Here is the definition of the middleware. Middleware hook into the request lifecycle. Yep, that's good. Yeah, they are the set of the function executed in sequence and let you transform the request and the response. Yeah, you can transform the request and response. That's good. AdonisJs provides auth middleware that verifies if the user of the application is authenticated. Yeah, you can take the example in the form of authentication. Let's say user has sent the request. User want to view, let's say, all the blog posts. Let's say that all the blog posts. And we created, let's say user want to access the profile. So only authenticated user can access the profile. A public user cannot access the profile of other users. So here we will create a middleware. This will check either a user logged in or not. If user is not logged in, then you can send the error back. If user has logged in, and then you can send the profile response. We'll talk more about the middlewares. So we talked about start directory. Here you can set the configuration for the app, environment stuff, HTTP, course related proxy, all this stuff is available here. You can set the configuration for auth. Adonis also provides the authenticator. It has also created the implementation for the JWT. You can do session-based authentication. We'll talk more about. They have already created the package for body parser, JSON body parser. Course, you can set the course. I'll talk more about the course. If we have the configuration of the database, you will specify the database configuration in the database. Don't worry, you don't need to be confused here. We'll talk more about, actually we're gonna use all these features. Postgres, for hashing, they created the hash.js file. If you have to encrypt the password, you gotta use this file. Here we have application middleware, global level middleware. You will specify all the models in the models directory. By default, Adonis has created the model for the user. They have created the hook. Before saving the user, they are trying to encrypt the user password. They already written that for us. It has also created the relationship with token model, one-to-many relationship. One token is required for auth. Yep, and we have the token. So they already created the migration. We'll talk more about the migrations and token here. That's it you need. Here you will set the configuration for your database and port. Everything is available here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the basic routing. We created our first route. We're going to build a blogging application. So what are the features of our application? Let's say application demo. A user can publish a new blog post. A user can delete, update, and find all blog posts. So we're gonna implement these features. We must need a route for these configurations. These would be our routes for our application. For post, I'm gonna say that, let's say HTTP localhost :333/post. When user will send the request to this API endpoint, it is going to create a new post. So let's say create new post. Similarly, we will have get post. Let's say that get post, it is going to find all the post, create new post, and we will have update post. So these are all our routes. I'm going to show you how to create the routes in our application. First of all, we must have controller. We will define the logic of this route handler inside our controller file. I can use Adonis CLI command to generate the controller. Adonis, let me try to check the command for the controller. So I can use this command Adonis make controller. Adonis make controller, and the name of the controller, which is post. So it is going to ask me the type. I'm going to use HTTP because we are not using the WebSocket here. WebSocket is used for real-time applications. Controller, we have post controller. Now it's time to define all the routes here. Define the route handlers. We need get, we need post, we also need update, we also need delete endpoint. First of all, let's define the route handler for get post. I'm gonna name it to find all. It is going to take the object. So I'm gonna destructure the request and the response. Let's try to return something here. It's an array. First we need to test this method. You can define these routes here. What I'm going to say, route dot get slash post. It is trying it. We have created this route to fetch all the posts. Controller name, post controller, the action name, which is find all. It is similar to Sales.js. If you have used Sales.js, you define the routes in this way. So let's try to run the project. I'm gonna send the request. What is that? Post controller, not S. Now you can see that we have the empty array. We don't have any record here. Let's create a find one, request and response, return find one is not implemented yet. Let's define the route here. This time we need find one, so we also need to define the ID, because this is the parameter, request parameter, so you can access the request parameter here. Find one is not implemented yet. I also wanna do the prettier. Prettier is used to do code formatting. I think I have to install prettier. Prettier -d means I would like to install it as a def dependency. If you don't know about the prettier, you can search the prettier. prettier, what is that? Prettier.io. Try it out. Let me show you the magic of prettier. Code formatter, it's a simple code formatter. Let's say so we install prettier. Let's define the configuration for the prettier. Dot prettier rc. Prettier rc. Yep. I'm gonna use the single quote. You can set the configuration here. I'm gonna save the application. Yeah, now you can see that it has formatted my code. You can set the on autosave from the VS Code configuration. Autosave. Okay. If you don't want to use prettier, it depends on you. Let's try to create. I can use the same method here. Copy paste. This I'm gonna replace it to create. Say that create is not implemented yet. It should be put or update. Update is not implemented yet. We have a delete. Delete is not implemented yet. Let's define the routes. Put, post, and delete. Let me rename to find one to create. It should be update, delete. Let's rename to delete. To send the request, I am going to use another plugin, REST client, in the VS Code. You can install this plugin, HTTP client. What is the name of the extension? I think REST client. Yes, you have to install the REST client. I already installed the REST client. You can Google that to use the REST client. To use the REST client, basically it is similar to Postman. You can send HTTP requests from the VS Code. Let's say you can create HTTP client or REST client. Let's say that REST client. You can choose any name, but make sure your extension should be HTTP. So it is going to give you the syntax highlighting. Let's say, I'm going to say, this is how you will create the comments here. Create new post. Let's say that you have to send the post request HTTP. You can see the syntax highlighting. Localhost colon triple tetra 3. You can also select your body parser, application JSON. I don't think so. Encoding. Let me double check that. Content type, yeah. Content type should be JSON because we have to send the JSON object, application JSON. Here you can provide your JSON body. We didn't figure out yet, so let's say I'm gonna test it by sending the request. Our application is not running. Oops, I have to change that. Now you can see that localhost colon 3/post. So create is not implemented yet. Similarly, you can send request for get all posts. I don't need to send the body here, so it should be get endpoint. Get, we are just returning the array from the find all. So get one, let's try to implement get post by ID. So I'm gonna provide the ID here. Find one is not implemented. So let's try to test the update and the delete. Update post by ID and delete post by ID. So we have to use the update here. Update is not implemented. Let's try to delete that. Delete is not implemented yet. So this is how you will do the basic routing in AdonisJs. In the next video, I'm going to teach you how to implement the database with AdonisJs. We will perform the CRUD operations.